Great, everyone. So now we are going to be focusing on more calculations with arithmetic sequences. For this portion of the lesson, I'm going to be focusing on how we can calculate A, D, Tn, and n. Let us have a look at our example. So we have been asked to determine the sequence, and when I'm asked for the sequence, that means I'm asked for the first three terms of the arithmetic sequence. Arithmetic sequence means that I know that I have a common difference. We are told that the fifth term is 16 and that the ninth term is 28. This one is slightly different to what I've done in the past. Why? Because A and D are not obvious. So we are going to have to rely on our knowledge of the general form of an arithmetic sequence in order to solve for this question. Please turn back to the board with me. So we've been told that T5 is 16 and that the ninth term is 28. I'm going to replace T5 with A plus 4D. This is stemming from my general form of an arithmetic sequence where I know that it is always A plus the term number minus 1D. So I've replaced term 5 with A plus 4D, and I'm going to replace T9 with A plus 8D. Everyone, we've now seen that we have an A and a D. What do we normally have to do when I have two variables that are unknowns? I'm hoping that you're saying simultaneous equation. So we are going to solve for A and D. Let's go back to the board. So I am going to isolate A on this side of the board. So I'm going to have A is equal to 16 minus 4D. I'm then going to substitute this across over here. So what I have for my value of A, I'm going to substitute in for this A. So I'm going to have 16 minus 4D. All I've done is replace the A with what I isolated A to be, plus 8D is equal to 28. So I'm going to have that 4D is equal to 12, which means that D is equal to 3. Now that I've found a value for D, I'm going to take my D value and substitute it back, and I'm going to replace the D over here. So A is equal to 16 minus 4 times 3, which means that A is equal to 16 minus 12. Hopefully everyone will agree with me that that means that A is equal to 4. So what I've done is a simultaneous equation where I have solved for A and D. I first isolated my A, and then I isolated my D and took it back to solve for A. So Tn will be equal to A plus n minus 1D. And I've now found my A to be 4, and I know that my D is 3. So if I simplify that, I'm going to have Tn is equal to 4 plus 3n minus 3, which means that Tn is equal to 3n plus 1. I'm hoping that everyone's with me at this point. So essentially, what has happened in the example behind me? I was given two different pieces of information about a pattern. I use those pieces of information to express certain terms in terms of A and in terms of D. I then solved simultaneously for A and D. Once I had A and once I had D, I could then substitute it into my general formula to isolate the general term. So let's look at the next part of the question. The general term is Tn is equal to 1 plus 3n. The question asked me to determine the sequence, and determining the sequence means that I've been asked to determine the first 3 terms. And if I'm determining the first 3 terms, I'm going to be substituting in n is equal to 1 to find t1, n is equal to 2 to find t2, and n is equal to 3 to find term 3. So term 1, please remember that when I'm replacing n, I'm substituting in for here. So I've stated the n value that I'm substituting, and I'm substituting into n where the coefficient of that n is 3. So I'm going to have 1 plus 3 times 1, so that means term 1's value is 4. Then for term 2, I'm going to have 1 plus 3 times 2, because I'm substituting in 2 for n, which is going to give me 7. Then for term 3, I'm going to substitute in 1 plus 3 times 3, y, because n is 3, which is going to give me 10. So my sequence is 4, 7, 10. Great. I'm hoping that everyone's with me and everyone's fine and following. We're going to be going to an ad break shortly, but please hang on for me. We're going to be doing some more examples after the break. See you soon.